Hi guys, we're going to talk about rudiments for a minute here. I'm trying to make this kind of quick, but it's a weird topic. We all know that there's 26 rudiments, right? The NARD 26. This sheet of PAS 40 here behind me on the wall that I know you can't read, it's got 40 rudiments on it, but 26 of them are the NARD 26. So even though the NARD 26 has been superseded, they're still with us. Exactly all 26 of them are still in there. So, the reason for that is because there's some underlying need for percussionists and drummers to have 26 rudiments. The number 26 is more important to us as a group on the whole, historically on the average, than it is which rudiments we're even talking about. Because there were at least minimum 4 different sets of exactly 26 rudiments in circulation sometime between the middle of the 1800s and the 1930s when NARD came up with the 26 that we still include today. So I just don't know why this is. If you know why this is, leave me a comment. But it's kind of interesting. The first set of exactly 26 out of the hundreds of years of rudimental drumming that happened before this that I've ever seen was this guy Giuseppe Templini in the middle of the 1800s. I don't know exactly when. He died in 1888. It must have been before that, but I don't know how far before. Estimates vary from as early as the 1850s all the way up until almost when he died in the 1880s. So I usually just split the difference and say the 1860s or something, but who knows. Anyway, point being, he had 26 exact rudiments. They weren't the NARD 26. They're a different set. For example, he had both open flams and closed flams, only one of which would we agree is a flam today. And he had open drags and closed drags, which in America we would call drags and ruffs. But he listed all 4 of those separately, meaning he couldn't possibly have the exact NARD 26. He also had some other weird ones towards the end. But it was exactly 26, and I don't know if this is what sparked everyone to need to have the 26 be exactly 26 and not 27 or 23 or whatever. But it was maybe the first one, at least that I'm aware of. So we go back to America, more relevant to most of my viewers, I think, and Gardner Strube in 1869 publishes a book where he has 25 rudiments, which doesn't sound like 26, except that one of the rudiments had the footnote in it of the single stroke roll, just, for some reason that wasn't given the official status of a rudiment or whatever, but it was in there. So there were, in fact, 26 rudiments, and those rudiments would become the same 26 that are still on our PAS 40, the NARD 26. They didn't change any of them. It was exactly, Strube's 26 became the NARD 26. Boom. Cut and dry. But with Templini, that's 2 sets now, right? They're competing, but they're in different countries, so they're not really directly competing. But that's not the end of it, of course. So John Philip Sousa comes along in 1886, and he comes up with his own set of 26 rudiments, and they are not Strube's set, even though they're both Americans. But it's not exactly Templini's set, because of course he's not British. It takes some of the weird stuff from Templini and some of stuff that was already common in America, sort of mushes it together for a hybrid sort of British-American set. Of course, American drumming is already like British drumming because we're a British colony, but we sort of separated a little bit by the 1880s, and he sort of tried to pull us back together, which is kind of funny. He's like a super patriotic American guy, wrote all the marches and everything, but his drumming style was in fact very British for the time, which is interesting, but he did have exactly, importantly, 26 rudiments. So for a while there, from the 1880s on, there were competing sets of what were practically 26 rudiments on either side. You had this sort of Marine Corps version and then everybody else's version from Strube. So, but that's not the end of it. You get to the 1920s, there's this guy Arthur Rackett who publishes an article, and he publishes, the article, the point of it is, hey, you should practice rudiments, because you'll be better if you do, which I agree with. And he says you got to practice the 26, only he lists 33. 26 of them are numbered, the last, whatever it is, 7 are just tagged onto the end. But it's interesting because the Flamacue, what would be a NARD 26 rudiment, and therefore obviously was on the Strube book all the way back in the 1860s, he says, oh, that's one of the extra ones, it's not one of the 26. And uniquely from both Strube and Sousa, and Templini for that matter, I think, he puts in basically the single stroke 3 or the 3-stroke ruff or the tap ruff, whatever you want to call that, just 3 single strokes. That's not really a rudiment on any of these other lists, but it is on his 26. So it's just very clearly different. So that's like a 4th one. You got Templini's 26, Stroop's 25 plus 1, 26. You got Seuss's 26, and then you got Rackett's 26. And nobody cares who Rackett is, but I don't think he made this up. I assume that this was somehow in the public common knowledge, or he wouldn't have published it in this article. So that's really weird. Now, in the 30s, of course, NARD was formed. They just canonized Stroop's 26 as the 26, and we sort of got rid of all the other stuff. And then we've been going with that, and of course adding to it ever since. Like, we knew we had to have 26 for some seemingly like pathological reason, but we just couldn't agree on which 26. But why 26? That's the part I don't really get. Kind of weird. Anyway, we can wrap this up by saying a quote from Jim Chapin. He says directly, 26 is an arbitrary number anyway. Several books could be filled with the beats that deserve to be called rudiments. Jim Chapin was a student of Moeller. Moeller's book had 39 rudiments in it originally. The reprints and revised editions only have 34. But either way, it's way more than 26. So Chapin, of course, wasn't a 26 fan because his teacher wasn't necessarily a 26 fan. But he recognizes that everybody else is. So 26 isn't necessarily important for any pedagogical reason that I can think of. But everyone likes it, and they always have, essentially. All right, that's it for today. See you guys next time.